Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point Shorts, which is the little videos that I do to talk about random things that I have come across on social media. So today we're going to talk about baby daddy issues. So I have a Facebook friend who made a post yesterday, and I don't know if he was serious, if he was just trying to get responses. If you guys know that I'm an author, and so a lot of my Facebook friends are authors, and I couldn't remember if he is an author or not, and maybe this was just a plot for a new book he was getting ready to write. But anyway, I wanted to share it with you guys and get your opinions. So basically, he said that he used to be in the military and stationed overseas, and he had two children within a month of each other, of course, by two different women. And he said that the women didn't speak to each other. They would like pass each other on the base. So I don't know if they were in the military or just worked on the base, but they would pass each other, wouldn't speak. Even after they had the babies, they didn't talk to each other. So 2 years later, he was restationed and sent back to the U.S. And so he wanted to take pictures of with each child and their mother. And then I can't remember if he said he wanted a picture of all of them together, but I know he wanted to take a picture with each child and the mother, but the mothers refused to take the picture with him. So they let him take a picture with the child, but they didn't want to be in the picture. So I'm taking it that once they found out that he had impregnated the other, that both other women were done with him. So he was saying that it really bothered him and hurt him that the women took that approach, that they were angry. You know, he was hoping that they would come together and I guess have like a relationship so that the kids would grow up knowing each other and, you know, knowing their siblings and what have you. So he was basing this feeling on the fact that his mom, and I can't remember if he had a brother, maybe from a different father. Well, yeah, from a different father, but his father had two other children, a daughter and a son. So he says that the mothers of these kids were able to come together, and even though they weren't like best friends, they would go to each other's houses so the kids could play, and they would sit out on the porch and talk to each other and get along, and made sure that as they were growing up that all the siblings knew each other and had a relationship. And so his purpose of writing the post was basically to say, why do women catch an attitude when the man has children from somebody else and won't do their part to make sure that the children know each other? So immediately after reading this long post that he had written, I thought to myself, nowhere in that little story he just told did he mention his father, like being active in his life or active in the lives of his siblings. So where was the father when the mothers were, coming together to make sure that the children knew each other? And second, where was he in his kids' life? Because it seems that after he left overseas in Germany or wherever he was at, he didn't mention having a relationship with his kids any longer. And so I was sitting there pondering it. And so basically my response to him was that women are not obligated to play a role in your infidelity. Like, just because I have a child from you doesn't mean that I have to take time out of my life to build a relationship with another woman and her kids. And that it is the responsibility of the father to build the relationship with his kids and make sure that his kids grow up and know each other and get along, that he's active in his children's lives and doing what he's supposed to be doing, that he can go and pick his kids up and take them all to the park or shopping or whatever it is that they're supposed to do. But you can't put the onus on the mothers that they have to somehow, continue to be a part of your nonsense. So you guys know I've shared that I have 3 adult daughters. So my 2 oldest daughters, their father, I think, has a total of like 8 kids. And when I met him, I was like 19 years old, and he had a daughter that was like 5 years old because he's like 6 years older than I am. So he had a daughter that was like 5 years old. He went to the daughter's mother and basically said, I'm dating this person, and I want her to be a part of my daughter's life. Like, she'll be able to come pick her up, take her shopping, take her, spend, bring her to my house, whatever. I want her to be able to come pick her up. And so the mother, I think she was kind of upset at first, but then she was okay with it. And then over the years, I got to know the daughter's siblings because the mother had other children. So I got to know her sisters and brothers and everything. But I never had a relationship with the mother. And I can't even really, maybe the first time I went and picked the daughter up, he may have introduced us. But after that, every time I picked his daughter up, she was either waiting outside or she was standing by the door, and the mother sent her out for me to pick her up. And then I got to thinking, because unfortunately she passed away when she was like 30 years old from complications to diabetes. And I think it was when she was in the hospital was the first time that I actually had a conversation, like where I sat in the room with her mother and she and I conversed with one another. And that was like 30 years, 25 years later, because she was 30 when she passed away. And his other kids that came along, I was out of the picture by then. Him and I had done parted ways. I was done with it. He had these other kids, and I never really had a relationship with their mothers. I knew who they were. If we saw each other in public, it was like, hi, how you doing? Never had a relationship with his kids as they were growing up. My daughters never had a relationship. Not really like a strong sister brother, like they were hanging out, calling each other on the phone. And on social media, they're all connected on social media. And my oldest daughter, got married in November. And aside from, her sisters through me, she only invited one of her siblings to come to her wedding. And he came, him and his family came. And I can remember one day I was sitting at the house, it was Friday night, and doorbell rung, and I went to the door, and there was this girl at the door, and she was like, hi, Miss Tracy, I'm so-and-so. And I was like, okay, like, why are you at my house? And so she was like, oh, well, we were down at the high school at the football game, and we had to use the bathroom, but we didn't want to use the nasty porta toilets. And I remember, that you guys live down here. And so she said, and I was telling my friend, my sister lives up the street. Let's go to her house. And so I let them come in and use the bathroom, but I thought that was the funniest thing because I had never met this little girl before. I probably had seen her when she was a baby, but didn't know her as an adult. And then a couple of years ago, their father's mother died. And so, all the kids got together and they talked and, took pictures and everything. And I think that was like the first time that they were all together. But I had nothing to do with that. There was no, can the kids spend time together or whatever. So it just like really annoyed me when the guy, had posted that, and then people were commenting and saying, yeah, women need to get out their feelings and do what's right for the kids. I'm sitting there thinking, what's right for the kids is for their father to be involved in their life and, making these measures. And then I just think it's so selfish for a guy to go out, sleep around, and have all these kids, and then think somebody else has to cultivate that relationship for him. And then I got to thinking about my former neighbors. The girl that used to live next door, she had 4 or 5 kids. And one of the kids, the father, I don't know if he was so much as active in the child's life, but he had a girlfriend that I think he lived with. And so the girlfriend would come pick the little boy up. She would make sure he had whatever he needed. If he was involved in sports or whatever, they would go to the sporting events. And so I remember one night I heard all this arguing going on, and I went and I looked outside, and so she was cussing I can't remember if the father was out there, or maybe he had gotten back in the car, and then it was just the girlfriend that was talking to my neighbor. But my neighbor was cussing this girl, like calling her all kind of names. And the girl was like, how are you yelling at me and cursing me out when I'm the one that comes to pick him up. I'm the one that, you know, when he spends the weekend, I make sure he has what he needs. And so basically my neighbor was saying, I didn't ask you to do any of that. That's his responsibility. Like, why are you taking my child, doing for my child when his dad should be doing it? And so I had to tell her, I was like, well, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but if the child is even spending 30 minutes with his dad during the however many hours they have him, that's better than nothing. And don't get mad at the girl or get upset at the girl because she's just trying to be the peacemaker. So I think if you're in a relationship with somebody or you marry somebody and they have kids, then yeah, you have a role and a responsibility. But if we're no longer together, and you out here making babies, or the reason we broke up is because you were out there making babies, just spreading your seed around town, why do I have to be a part of that? And then somebody else had commented and was saying, you know, oh, I hate when women feel that way, and why wouldn't you want to be, you know, a part of the other kids and make sure your kids know their siblings? I said, because maybe that wasn't the plan for my life. Like, maybe the plan for my life was, if I ever have kids, I'm going to make sure my kids have this, this, and this. The plans for my life may not include having to go out of my way to build a relationship with some random woman that has obviously come into my relationship and slept with my man or whatever. And now I got to be friends with her. And so I'm just thinking about these two women on this army base who probably thought that they were both the main chick, or they were the woman, they were the one. And then they find out that he's been cheating on them, and then he wants them to overlook the fact that he cheated so that his kids, you know, can grow up and know each other. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just know that you can't impose your will on me, and whatever decision somebody else makes doesn't have to impact my life unless I want it to impact my life. And I have had enough trouble raising my own kids that I ain't got time to be bothered with somebody else's. So, you guys, let me know what you think about that. Should a woman who's not married to a guy, may not even be dating him any longer, have an obligation to build a relationship with other women that have been in his life or that's in his life for the sake of the children growing up together? Or is it the man's responsibility to make sure that his kids have a relationship by playing an active role in their life, picking up the kids, taking them out, you know, making sure that they're talking to each other and fostering that relationship with their siblings? Let me know in the comments, guys. Let's get the conversation started. Rate the video and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And share the video if you can on your social media platform. And until next time, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.